It's the do not scratch your eyes.
It's not the post-match phone-in. Of course, it's not the post-match phone-in. It's the one where we've gone through another one, haven't we? Yeah, as has been possibly the worst kept secret in and around, well, football and certainly Watford. Yes, he's gone. Pezzolano has departed, and Javi has returned. As ever, if you want to make a comment or a thought or a point, come here. This is just a quick, I don't know, gathering around the fire, gathering around the hearth to discuss what we think or we don't think thus far to date. If you haven't heard the news, let me just go through and read out the club statement that is on the website, which I think gives a little bit of intriguing reading, shall we say. It says Watford FC are delighted to confirm the return of Javi Gracia as head coach after deciding to part ways with Paolo Pezzolano and his backroom staff, whom we thank sincerely for their efforts and commitment during their time in charge. We wish them every success in the future. In appointing Javi, the club are confident that he will bring the qualities we believe are vital for this young squad: consistency in team selection, harmony within the dressing room, and a strong connection with our supporters. His vision and approach align closely with our objectives. We are very pleased to welcome back Javi, said Chairman and Chief Executive Scott Duxbury. His passion, leadership and clear strategy will help us build stability, unity and momentum. We are sure there are many supporters who wished Javi had never departed in 2019. With his young and exciting squad, we are convinced his experience and qualities are exactly what we need now. Javi will take charge immediately and begin preparations for our next fixture against which is away obviously against Sheffield United. So there we go. Right, guys, do let us know what you want to kind of mention and discuss. There were some interesting sort of tidbits in there, and obviously everything is kind of being a little bit thrown together at this moment in time. A lot of conversations have been around, well, we've got wingers, and he doesn't like to play with wingers. He played the 4-box-2, people used to call it, 4-2-2-2 in a way. And it was really with kind of playing inverted wingers in a way. But Will Hughes and Bobby Pereira are probably not your out and out wingers. I think that's only reasonable to say. But so I've done a little bit looking at where he's been since, so we can kind of discuss a little bit about that, because he's tried some other formations. He's not just been stuck in 2019 and sat there. He has seemingly moved a little bit with the flow of everything. So as ever, do hit request and let us know if you want to come on and say hello. Carl, sir, are you abouts? What are your thoughts on the latest?
Well, firstly, I hope you can hear me, because I'm in an awful area.
I can hear you. Yeah,
brilliant.
What are you doing in Luton?
Yeah, very close to that, actually. So yeah, not too far off the point, to be fair.
Fair enough.
Not surprised, obviously, that he's gone. But I think when I spoke to our very good friend Justin, who I know is listening the other day, and the Javi rumour mill was flying, was that, is it good to go back? I think there's aspects of his football or his time when he was at Watford. Oh, hello, yes, somebody from Luton there.
Right.
Yes, times when he was at the club that the football was a bit turgid. That was towards the end. He was playing players out of position. Having said that, we spoke to fans literally just the other day at the last game, in fact, saying who was Watford's, second best manager.
Yep.
And have his name come up a couple of times.
Yeah.
And, clearly that's for the FA Cup and that run. But look, on a different note, changes had to happen. I know we're a club that changes managers for the sake of it sometimes, but I really didn't see much in this guy. And Javi coming in, do you know what? I think there's worse appointments out there, and we, at least we've got a manager that we can connect to pretty much straight away. And I'm looking forward to the song as well, Pete. Javi Gracia, he drinks sangria. That'll be off with him very shortly.
It will be in like a shot. Do excuse me, somebody very, very rudely tried to ring me there for a moment. If we lost the sound of Carl just for a moment, yeah, there's a number of things obviously that came out when we mentioned at the weekend about Pezzolano seemingly going, and it was a situation whereby nobody at Watford wants to keep getting rid of managers. People would like to have somebody that they can bond to, but there's been a lot of discussion about him, and we'll see what everybody thinks. You stay there, Carl, as long as you can, if you can, and that'll be fine. Let me get Mr. Simon Parkin on, who's first up to request, and I'm going to come to Ian Bacon. And as ever, guys, this is more about your thoughts than ours, because that's what we like this platform to be. Mr. Parkin, sir, are you there? Simon, are you there, sir?
Can you hear me?
Ah, got you. There you go.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Well, I'm not actually. I'm getting over a very heavy cold. For anybody who's looking at me, yes, I look even worse than normal. But what can you do? What are your thoughts on everything then?
Listen, I think I'll leave other people to it. We don't know what happens. Sometimes second comings are good, sometimes second comings are bad, and I'll leave the football side of it to other people. Look, I've been instrumental in setting up the support board. What I really want to come on, and you've been mentioning it quite a lot recently, is we keep making bad appointments, and you keep banging that drum, and you're absolutely right. And I want to really sort of people to think about what's going on at our club culturally, that we suddenly go, we're getting rid of Tom Cleverley, this is definitely the right guy, and 9 games in, no, this is definitely the wrong guy. How do we keep making those things wrong? And I thought the other interesting observation I've got is that Scott Duxbury's name's all over this, and we seem to be yin and yang between Gino's guy, Scott's guy, Gino's guy, Scott's guy, and it just sort of feels like a bit of a tug of war and just a bit chaotic. And lots of people will focus on Pezzolano and lots of people focus on Javi Gracia. But what's going on at our club that we keep yinging and yanging like this? I don't get it.
Well, I mean, I think the phrase is to lose one is unfortunate. To lose 24 is downright careless. I mean, there is a cultural situation at the club, and I don't think we can escape the fact or the probability that the ownership and the upper management are the single constant through all of this. They are the common denominator. So there has to be some part of responsibility there. Not some part, a fucking large part, let's be quite frank about it. They are the only people who do constantly rotate. They have said before, and all in favor of balance, that they see the head coach, and it's very much called the head coach because that's his role. It's very much a functionary. But how many head coaches either stay or are fit for that particular purpose? Now, I've said for a number of days or a number of weeks, basically, and there were some people who came out, and I can understand why, and it's people's opinions, and people are entitled to their opinions. That oh well, those in the know, or ITK for short, if you're down with the Ute, should keep it all to themselves. Well, there's an awful lot I have kept to myself, and since day 3. The disharmony that they are referencing at the training ground has been sung large. Absolutely, it has been. You only have to go back and look to Nigel Pearson. When Nigel Pearson came in, the first thing he did was he got everybody at the training ground and brought them into the canteen. If you've been to you'll know it's the largest building there. Brought them all in, including go and get Gino, and he did. And Troy told us about this when we talked to him the other month or year, and he said, he went and got him in, and he said, look, all of the answers are in this room and nowhere else, and treat everybody the same. I.e., I want everybody treated with respect. I want the person on the door. I want the guys who are doing the cooking, and everybody who's in the medical, everything. He brought everybody together in the short tenure he did. It took Paolo Pezzolano 3 days to stop anybody being in the canteen when the players were in there. Quote unquote, these are not your friends.
Really?
Yes, these are not your friends. You're not here. You remember the phrase, I'm not here to make friends. He didn't want the workers, the players, to make friends. So everybody would evacuate the canteen. People would eat after the players had come, which is a very, very quick way of making it a them and us kind of situation in terms of. But obviously, it didn't hold very well. So there's been a number of things that I haven't said, but I will say now because frankly, it's gone. We'll see with Javi, and I think your point about second comings can be good. And they can also be, QSF, can't they? They can be Graham Taylor or they can be QSF. It could go either way. But I can understand why they're referencing that. And I think the bits that they're mentioning are very, very interesting that's now being used as a statement.
But surely, look, lots of people are on these calls that recruit people. If I kept recruiting people and they didn't get through their probationary period,
absolutely,
I'd soon have people feeling my collar saying, "You're a bit crap at recruiting, aren't you?" The thing that gets here is surely during the recruitment process, they sat down and said, right, what's your culture? What's the things? What are the things are you going to do? Things like what you've just said, that these aren't your friends. This is how I want to run the canteen or whatever. Surely there's got to be warning signals if you're asking the right questions, or are we just recruiting people off stats and tables and a cozy little chat and a coffee and not really understanding the detail of how they're going to come in and how they're going to fit in with the culture of what we want at the club, how it's going to work with the players, the staff, everyone. It just seems scattergun and chaotic, and we ying from a disciplinarian to a person who's going to put the arm around the shoulder and back to a disciplinarian. I mean, how many times have we done that little circle of let's go and find someone who's the opposite, who's got the things that's been missing,
exactly,
and then they go uber opposite the other way. So I'm just, look, other people will come on, I'll leave you to crack on. Other people will talk about Pezzolano and Gracia and what that's going to be. I just want to go, what's going on culturally at our club that we keep getting this wrong? And the statement that you keep making in pretty much all of the phone-ins, we are crap at recruiting managers.
Yeah. We're world class at getting rid of them. It seems, but not very good at bringing them in. It's right. Sorry, I worked for 10 years in occupational psychology and recruitment, etc. And the point that Simon makes is very, very salient. It means that you've got to make sure that. Oh dear! I have to shut the window. Somebody on the road is doing some drilling or something or other. It's. You have to base what you're doing on rigorous processes and the like, rather than just going, well, this is where they finished. Obviously, kind of their performance as a manager has to be factored in, but other things as well. There were a number of we saw on the pitch a number of times whereby the situation seemed to be establishing alpha leader. So for anybody who thinks that Iran Kunda looked tired, fatigued, so I took him off on 33 minutes. Well, I'd ask the question why Sissoko lasts any more than 3 minutes in any game then, because he always looks fatigued. As far as I'm concerned, it's just an odd one. Let's get across to Mr. Ian Bacon and see what Ian thinks, and then we'll touch on some other bits and bobs. Mr. Bacon, sir, how are you doing? Ian, are you there?
Good afternoon, Peter. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How fare things with the Bedfordshire Hornets, the enclave that is divisive to all things Luton?
Well, if I'd remembered to log on using that Twitter page, we'd probably know. But
I know.
In time on a fashion, I forgot you catch me just outside Cardiff, and this announcement came out as I was walking out of a meeting, so that was quite timely. A couple of bits for me, just going on from what Simon just said. I agree with what he said. And
yeah, absolutely.
You only have to be. I did this, and I'm sure hundreds of other Watford fans did this as well. When we appointed Pezzolano, I did a Google search on him, and it came up. He had a history of falling out with squads and falling out with fan bases. So there you go.
Well, he did.
Perhaps
at Valladolid, famously, I mean, he did start off bad, and when it didn't start off great, he kind of said, "Well, it started off badly last time." You go, okay, not necessarily the greatest indicator that it's going in the right direction, but fine, okay, we'll go with that. And famously at Valladolid, when they were in the the Plaza, the big square celebrating promotion, he started singing what was it? But basically, it was "Resign Pezzolano" at the fans because they'd all been singing it at him, and it was basically him sort of sticking it back up him again. a little bit. But you know, fair play, you've done it. Why not? Doesn't necessarily mean that as we say, that he's necessarily the best person to get on with everybody in all things. But never mind. Yeah, he was a bit divisive, and he was never one to smile. And not that that's important, but the other things that's been said is about consistency of selection or formation or what have you. How did you get on with the many changes both in shape and personnel with Pezzolano? Because it was improving at the end, but the rumours are that it was, you know, this was already in operation by that point.
Was it 19 changes in the last 4 games? You just didn't know who was going to be coming out next. I think the biggest thing for me as well is not just the changes, it's the confidence of the squad, and you can see that in their body language. Please God, we stop now doing zonal marking at corners, because we just look so jittery with every corner that comes over that I think that's part of the reason why Aliane scored that own goal. When he sliced it in, he was probably thinking, I'm standing still, there might be some runner coming up on me behind me that I'm not aware of, and you know, slice it into the net. But I hope that disappears. I just think it's the right thing to do in terms of him going, because after the game on Saturday, he didn't. He went straight down the dugout. He didn't cut straight down the tunnel from the dugout. He didn't come and applaud the fans, and worse than that, he didn't shake the opposition manager's hand, and that is disrespectful. You should always do that.
I did actually, because I sat there watching it. He did actually come back out afterwards. I think somebody may have, or you might have recalled, whatever. So I did call that out on Saturday, that because it was interesting that he didn't come onto the pitch, but he did that, and then went straight off again. So as I say, you know, the fact that he seemed to be on his way was I believe known to him, I presume. So there we go.
The biggest thing for me is just getting the confidence back in the squad. You know, it's telling that Troy picked that out on, was it TalkSport last night?
Yep.
Said that about the squad as well. And you know, yes, you've got to make changes, of course, because of suspensions and freshening up the team and stuff like that. But we just need a bit more stability about who we think our 1 to 11 or 1 to 66 is going to be. So just hopeful that it's a Graham Taylor return, not a QSF return for Javi, and let's see what happens. Looking forward to it. I feel very positive, I have to say. So perhaps Paolo had got to me as well, but I was feeling very positive about it. So let's see where we go now.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, I mean, I look, I know I'm not like everybody else in these things. When I turn, I'm not so worried about the winning or the promotion, but I do want to have an attachment. I do want to like the manager, and the thing about Gracia is that, you know, for any faults, and we'll get on to talking about you know, kind of his tactics and how he played in a little bit. He did seem to, you know, Pezzolano did struggle to do that. I mean, some of the words that Troy said was, he said, when you fall out with everybody, you haven't got someone there holding the ship together. Going at players, falling out with fans, it's never going to work. He said, we already know this ownership is not afraid to pull the trigger. And you'd have hoped that he would have known that on Javi Gracia, which, you know, now we've spoken to him and we know it's not common knowledge. He said he's a great guy and a great coach. He's very good with man management and understands people very well. If it's the same coaching staff, they all complemented each other really well. For us, he was great and it worked. But then again, they say never go back, don't they? Let's see. I hope it works. Well, that makes him in with all of us, doesn't it?
Yeah, just one final thing, still, but I know there's others wanting to come on. At least we didn't go down the route of recruiting Russell Martin, because that would have been an absolute disaster for my view. I can't stand that guy. So, I'm glad we didn't go down that route.
Well, it is getting towards that silly season, isn't it? I mean, obviously those guys up the road have done so. I think what's his name, Jack Wilshere is the favourite for getting that gig up there. But I saw Russell Martin was was in the running in the odds, and I did think, my God, that would be a rapid descent, wouldn't it, from Rangers, which is, you know, whatever your thoughts on Scottish football or either half of it, it's a fine old club. If you went from there to Luton, that would really be something. There we go, Ian. Thank you ever so much as always. Lovely to see you and chat. Let's get Wendover in. Anybody who wants to put a point across, please do. It's quite happy for this to be short and sweet. It's really more of an announcement and just kind of trying to grab whatever thoughts people have got at this moment in time. Greg, sir, the king is dead. Long live Javi Gracia.
What a circus. Oh, what a circus. Sang by David Essex in the 70s.
There's not enough David Essex references on football.
No, not enough references of David Essex. Look, for me, I recall pre-season when the first day the players came back, Mr. Nanny introduced our man, and he talked about
discipline.
He's a disciplinarian, and no more lateness. The culture's going to change, this, that, and the other. They can't have it both ways. Pezzo was obviously taking it to the ninth degree, and this is what we've got. You know, with Watford Football Club, we're either far left or we're far right. There has to be a happy medium, which they can't find. And I think Simon Parkin's spot on.
Mm-hmm.
The recruitment process. How many interviews do they hold for these guys? Who's conducting the interviews? Are they structured? What questions are they asking? Because it's an absolute joke. It is an absolute joke. I didn't warm to Pezzo, but I have sympathy for him because they've come in here and told him we want discipline. He's delivered them nth degree discipline, and the players don't like it, and the fans don't like it, and so we're back where we started.
Well, we literally are back where we started with the Pozzo family, because, of course, having bought in, and it was the Pozzo family at the time, Gianfranco Zola, who was, you know, quote unquote a gentleman, obviously a fantastic player, but was also very much in the, you know, he was the player's friend. He was also somebody they would look up to, not dissimilar, I would suggest, to Tom Cleverley. And then we went to Beppe Sannino, and if you want to hear what that was, you know, you just have to listen to our chat with Troy on that one, because he was, you know, and you can see it with coaches and with managers, where it's a question of, and I described it earlier on as establishing alpha leader, i.e. it's my way. It's not, you know, this isn't a committee. This isn't what you're going to do. And that was what the Iran Kunda thing was about. It was, you're not doing the things that I'm asking you to do. I'm basically telling you to do, and you're not doing it. Off you come. It's my way or the highway. And I've got sympathy with that. Genuinely, I do understand that. But it's kind of, if it was that and that alone as something, but if you know what it's like, and anybody who's listening here will know what it's like to go into a workplace when it is solely unpleasant to go in there. And if you are literally told that everybody around the place, they're not your friends, you are here to work. We heard the thing on the other day, you know, we work every day. And it's going to get very wearing very, very quickly. You need to have light and shade, because these players are also dealing with things that, you know, we know everybody here would love to be able to go and play football for a living, be able to play out in front of it also comes with an awful lot of pressure and intensity. Sometimes you need to take that off. And it seemed to be a pressure cooker. There was inconsistent selections being made, which we've discussed. You know, I think it was 24 changes in 6 games, which is like, well, how are we going to gel these sort of things? I've heard some people say that his methodology was he would try everything until he finds something, and then he would stick with that, and that's great, but you don't really have 10 matches to sort of get to do that. You need to kind of have an idea and a concept of the squad you have, and then play to the players' strengths, rather than going, well, today I'm going to try 5-3-2. You
don't at Watford Football Club, and you know, I felt Saturday was a better performance. But for me, that performance was the player said, look, we know he's going, we're going to play our way, and we're taking all his nonsense off, and we'll do it our way. People, yeah, we're going to get criticised in the media that he's got 7 out of 9. Look, I have sympathy for the guy, but I'm not saying to see him go. I didn't warm to the fella. I know you didn't warm to the fella. And I think the majority of our fan base didn't warm to him. I understand that Javi is a very, very good coach.
Yep.
Be interesting to see if Ziegler's getting his visa ready to come back again.
Oh, Ziegler, Rinaldi.
Because he worked with Tom Cleverley last year and has worked regularly with Javi.
He was also with Javi
to see him back.
He was Javi at Leeds, and he was also with him out in Qatar. So one of the things I just put on here for anybody who's watching this nonsense. Obviously, the last time he was employed, and this is why I think it's taken so long, because he hasn't worked since about April 2023. So it's 2 years, and you need to get the work permit and all that. So whilst it was an unsuccessful stint at Leeds, when he went there, he actually got them out. He got them out of the relegation zone into 17th when they let him go. If you remember, I can't remember was it Razzani, something like that, was the owner at the time, and it was like kind of Leeds was a little bit like us, really, a bit of a basket case of a club. He then went out, and then he'd taken over from Jess Marsh, who'd taken over from Bielsa, and he got them out of the relegation zone. They ended up getting relegated. Did it go particularly well? No, not particularly, but it went there. Before that, he had gone out to Qatar, and they basically won the league and the trophy there with Al Sadd, which was out there. And he immediately went from us for a spell at Valencia. So one of the things that people have said, Greg, and be interesting, you'll know that he played that 4-4-2, but it was 4, but the 2 were the middle was he had some real quality, obviously, in Doucouré and Etienne Capoue, which meant he only had to play 2 in the centre realistically, and he had Will Hughes on the right, who would be inverted. He had Roberto Pereira on the left, who would invert, and then he'd play 2 up front, probably Deeney and Delafeu at the time. And the questions were, is the squad that he's got, is that going to fit that? I've gone back and taken a look at it, and I'm doing it again in reverse order. So we'll start with Leeds. He played 3-4-3. He was only there for 13 odd games. He played 3-4-3 on one occasion. He played a 4-2-3-1 on 9 occasions, and he played 4-3-3 on in a kind of an attacking version for 2 games. So he seems to have evolved out of that even more when he went for his 22 games out in Qatar. He played a 3-5-2 once. He played a 3-1-4-2, which is very, very close to it once. 3-4-2-1, 13 times he played. So everybody will have associated him with a back 4, but there he played with a back 3 a number of times. Another 2 for 3-5-2, a 4-1-4-1, 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2. So he's adaptable, but I think he is more likely to stick to one in the main. Same thing when he was at Valencia. Yes, he did play 4-4-2 there because it was following on from us. He played that 20 times, but he also played variances of 3-4-3, 4-2-3-1, a 3-5-2, and a 3-4-2-1. So hopefully it'll be a little bit more adapted to the squad that he now has, because obviously we were in the Premier League and he had probably the strongest squad we've had since GT's era, I would think at the time. But for somebody who's in the Championship, I would have thought he was a bit of a steal to get hold of him, wasn't he?
I agree, Peter. I've read worries about that he doesn't play with wingers, but I've been giving this some thought. We only really have one out-and-out winger in Quadro Bar. The others, I would suggest, are ball carriers and more 10s. And I think they're going to fit in perfectly to how he wants to play.
Yeah, no, I've heard that, but I disagree with it, because Iran Kunda describes himself as a winger, But
Yeah.
but absolutely, he can play
I
there.
think he's
There's
a
no
ball
problem.
carrier. I think we have got the squad for him. To be fair, I'm not a lover of inverted wingers. I like as you know, Peter, and I think you're the same. I like a right footer on the right side and a left footer on the left side. But the game has evolved, and maybe I'm a dinosaur.
Greg and I are going back to the 1980s to enjoy our football. Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe I'm a dinosaur. But I don't think the squad actually. I don't think we've landed at him to match the squad, but I think the squad does fit how he might want to play, and I don't think it's a bad thing at all. He's definitely got some better centre halves than he had last time round. I remember, with all due respect to Adrian Mariappa,
Yep.
he featured regularly in a late Javi team, and Maps at that time was at the end of his game. I think he's got a good set of centre backs to work with. We've got Famose Mendy, who is currently in the Senegalese starting 11, not being able to get into the matchday squad. What's that all about? We have got, Kevin's a really good player. I highly rate Abankwah. I've been criticised because I once suggested that he might be the new John McClelland.
Yeah.
Well, he's a different player to John McClelland. John McClelland was a supreme defender, perhaps not so good as Abankwah going forward. I think we've got the best centre backs that we've probably ever had. I think he's got a squad to work with, and as I say, I don't think they have found him to fit the squad, but I think it's a good coincidence that we've landed on him. And people criticised at the end of his tenure. He lost many games. The last game, as you rightly corrected me yesterday, was a 1-1 draw at Newcastle on the back of many defeats.
Yep.
However, that was in the Premier League. It wasn't in the Championship. I'm all for this. I don't like the chopping and changing of managers. Let's hope this is a long. Hope this is a long tenure.
Well, absolutely. Let's hope it works out for all. I mean, and I'm quoting no less a figure than Troy Deeney when I say that. Yes, when you did say Abankwah was could be the next John McClelland, it was very much your hell or high water moment, wasn't it? It was forever to be read back to you upon repeat.
Yeah. And like the £500 a week, which I never actually said.
No, I know.
That was taken out of context, but yeah.
Very good, sir. Right. Well, look, as ever, we will look and see what happens, but it's that international break time yet again. Therefore, we know the changes made. It is a logical time if you're going to do it now, because it gives him the time to work with the players, and we will see sort of how everything else goes. But hey ho, Greg, we will catch up very, very soon indeed. Right, let's get across to Mr. Dave Carpenter, who I chatted with the other day. And he's now, I threatened everybody. I told you he's now a regular. And I like that very much because, hey, it's the second time back. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks, Pete. I've got the bug for it now, obviously. I've got to get on this, you know what I mean?
The descent starts quickly, doesn't it?
Oh,
Sorry.
God, it does. And I'll tell you what, you get sucked in, don't you? I was just on the phone to my mum, actually, and I was just chatting to her. And I said to her, Watford coach has been sacked. And she said, well, they haven't been any good since Jeff Taylor was in charge.
Jeff,
I thought,
Jeff.
That's what I'm up against, you know what I mean?
We all miss Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great coach he was. Yeah, no, it's all good, mate. I think just listening to a few other people there, and it's I think it's great. Secretly, is it all we've wanted? All of us wanted it, didn't we? Did we? I don't know. Maybe. I think
there are two questions, and I think Simon started us off with absolutely at the start, which is I think this is a sensible. At this moment in time, I can understand why we're doing it. Yeah. Because if you look at it from the fans' perspective, I think the majority, never everybody, of course, but the majority of people will go, yeah, okay, I get this. There will other opinions will be available. And that's fine. We get the fact that he's a known person. We get the fact that as a personality, he can do man management. He's coming in as a cure to the problems that we've had. However, I've said this before, we so often recruit, and it's about now is a time for a root and branch as to how we bloody well recruit. We recruit people to solve the last problem that we caused with the last recruit. You know, that we really need to start looking at how this is done and actually start doing it holistically, i.e. properly in and within its own self, rather than just going, well, the last guy was you know, detestable and horrible. The next guy will be all nice and cuddly, and then, you know, forward wind 3 months, 6 months, take your pick, somewhere in between, and then going, oh no, the players are all too comfortable. There should be processes put in place as to how this is run, but you're bringing in the right person with the right set of skills and the right soft skills as well to be able to get along with it, as well as all the technical and everything else. It doesn't seem beyond the wit of man, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I guess you're right. You said about warm and cuddly there. I said Gracia's got a nice kind face, isn't he? Pezzolano didn't. So there you go. Maybe we should recruit on looks rather than he looked quite mean.
Well, Ron, Uncle Ron, who will be coming on very shortly. I'll come to you in a bit, Ron. You know, did talk about, you know, about his sartorial elegance at one point, and wasn't pleased about it, but then felt bad on Saturday if that was the case. So I think he'll be arguing against it. But his joggers will have now gone down in Twitter history. So
I guess as well, because I mean, you know, when a sort of owner's recruiting a manager or whoever's recruiting at the time, do you think that they look at, so obviously they look at stats and they look at what they've achieved and stuff like that, but I guess it's like any other interview. If you meet someone and you like them and you think, yeah, you'll do, you've got good stats, you've got a great CV, come on in. I guess you don't really know their personality until they're actually on the job. So, you know, there is that to take into account as well.
It's a role, as with any management role, where the soft skill element, the man management element, is vital, because anybody can come in and just go, no, and no, it's this way, and you've got to try to make the environment as positive as possible, because I'm a huge believer, but other people can correct me if they feel I'm wrong, that the training environment reflects what you see on match day. You know, or vice versa, I should say. You know, when people turn around and say a team is reflective of its manager, it's about it. This will kill you. This is very dull, even for me. My brother keeps fish, right? And as he always describes it, I don't keep fish. What I do is I look after water, because it's the environment that they're in that will make it healthy for them. It'll make it good, and they'll live and thrive and survive. And the work environment is very similar to that. You know, there's a whole host of things that people will do in the work environment for their staff and their people to try to make sure that what they do is get loyalty, they get discretionary effort, they get good performance, all of these sort of things. And look, of all of the things that I heard literally in the first week, made me go, oh my Lord, this will be interesting, because he'll either break the culture, which is presumably what he was trying to do, or it'll break everything. And I appreciate that he's come in and he's tried to do something. It just doesn't feel like it's that has gone down very well with the players either.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and I was just thinking as well. You said that's a great fish analogy, by the way. I'm going to steal that one.
Hey, you're welcome.
I think just also Joe, about working with them for the next 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks, isn't it? It's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I wonder, have we got many on international duty? I don't know off the top of my head.
We have 10, but I only know that number because I saw a quote from Barami saying that they were delighted to have 10, international players going off.
What, first team, or is that all?
Well, I mean, Iran Kunda is certainly one of them, and obviously his flight time going off is always an issue when he's going to be playing the majority of his games in the Southern Hemisphere. So I'd need to go through it. Obviously, as was stated by Greg there, foremost Mendy is representing Senegal at the moment. But no, we need to go through it. But there's also the under-21s, etc. So Rocco Vata and Abankwa will be with the Irish under-21s and seniors respectively. You'll be having young Kieran Gard, I think, is playing for the under-21s? I think he's 22, so I'm not sure if he's still playing with them or not. But I know he was going off to an international camp the other week, so we will see. But what you do is you get in and you try to establish, what he's got to try and do is get in and establish a culture, a vibe, presence which makes it feel like, okay, no, this is safe. I want players to be attached to the club whenever, and I've been fortunate enough through doing this nonsense to have a 4-hour chat with Troy Deeney, with Carl and Justin, and the things that he comes out and quotes and talks about are about the people on the desk at the training ground. They are the people at the reception. They are the people, the club. If you want them to associate to people who are fans and long-standing people and normal people in and around the club, rather than feeling threatened because they've made friends of some people who happen to work in effectively another department. That just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a regime that then, isn't it? It's not a, that's right. Yeah, no, I mean, I get that, and I'm excited for it. I think the fact that we've got 2 weeks now. I mean, obviously they do that for the reason, but now we've got 2 weeks. I'm excited. I think anything's got to be better than what we've started with. So it's exciting times ahead, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think the statement. There's normally a message to be divined out of a statement from the club. I think it kind of gives us an idea as to what they are, what they're thinking, what he is bringing. Invariably, they're going to. It's basically kind of stating, I suppose, that this is why the other guy has been given his marching orders. But there we go. Dave, thank you very much indeed as ever. I'm just going to come to Rich WFC2. Then I'm going to be coming to Uncle Ron. Then we're going to be going to John, and then we're going to be coming to PJ, who'll give us some insights into thing. Rich, the hammer has fallen, and Javi is now in place. What are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, well, I'm on my lunch break, and I'm just having to think about it. You can hear me all right, I take it.
Got you loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Well, I think it's again, you have to ask about due diligence and all these types of things that go on. I look at things. I'm 58 odd years old. I've been working into 40 years worth of work now. A good 30 years of that I've been in fairly senior management. I've managed lots of different people, every male, female, and every sort of race and thing that you could think of about managing people. And there's a certain thing when you're running a team of people, whenever environment you're in, there has to be basics, and the basics have to be respect. Using the tools that you're given, your ears, your eyes, your mouth when you need it, and learning about what is an environment you have and what makes it tick. And what on earth has gone on in the last 3 or 4 months? The guy's had a complete pre-season. Now, he's either been told something or he really is just gone off on it. And we've heard too many things to know that so much has gone wrong. And so it's an obvious, sensible, on paper appointment bringing Javi in. You tick the box because the fans are ecstatic, most of them that remember it, and you can understand why. Most of the players there weren't around when Javi was there, but they'll have people like Max in the background, and obviously the existing management director's board is still there, so that's going to be a tick. But Javi will walk in there, and I'm sure if such a thing exists anymore, a tea lady's still there that will remember Javi, the backroom staff, the people in the canteens, all these people that are at the training ground. And what you said was absolutely spot on, Peter. It's not about Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever on the football pitch. It's Monday to Friday in the training ground. That's where the things really happen. And if that environment is such that it's toxic or it's uncomfortable, absolutely nobody flourishes. The heads will be on the chests, whoever they are, and that's right from the top down. So it's a sensible appointment. Will it work? I don't know. Javi's a clever man. He got himself a 2-year deal, at least to get himself a decent payout, because the chances in probably doing 2 years are remote.
Yep.
But first, straight away, you have to get the Vic going. You get the supporters behind the players, and then things can happen. Watford have some good, young, talented players. They don't need to be bollocked. They don't need to be told that they can't do this. They need to be told they can do this. And get out there, flourish, make mistakes. But make mistakes and then, help each other to learn quickly from that mistake. Have a bloody shot on goal from 40 yards. you know, it might hit the crossbar and come out and fall in the lap of our centre forward running in. That's what it's all about. Not all this nonsense, regimental, sergeant major nonsense that has happened. And we know it's happened. So if people are saying you're guessing, we're not guessing. Too much has come out for the last few months that, you know, almost from the start, this is what we were dealing with. And so it's refreshing. Hopefully everybody is reinvigorised. They're up for the fight. You know, we've got some good players. Round pegs, round holes. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that Quadro Bar is suddenly going to start the next game. But what it probably does mean is that he's going to get some minutes, which is all we're asking. We're not asking for, you know, necessarily 90 minutes of football. I'd love to see it, of course, as long as he's playing well. But as long as he earns a shirt, you know. But, you know, we're not this nonsense of having 3 to 5 minutes of arguably your best player that would, as I said Saturday, would walk into most teams in the top 2 leagues, well, you know, certainly lower end Premier, definitely. And, you know, we've got to get these boys on the pitch and enjoying their football. And, you know, letting Quadro run down the line, you know, and break his neck to try and get a goal for us. And some of the young lads. Now, Javi's got some defenders, hopefully, now that he can get going, because there's some decent defenders there now. He never had that first time around, even though we had such a good midfield and forward line. The defence was always, and we don't need to name the names of the defenders that he had available to him. It's quite frightening to think that what he did have. So hopefully he can put it together. The key is going to be the backroom team as well. Is the old backroom team coming back now? Was it Aranaldi? Yeah. I mean, he was there last year with Clevs for a while, then disappeared again. I mean, is he coming back? I suppose he'll be able to hit the ground running. Who knows? Yeah, he might want a different team. I don't know. He's been out for a couple of years himself. I don't know, but
it would make sense to bring him back, because there will obviously already be relationships in place, providing they were good ones with Rinaldi. But what I've been told about him was that he was a really lovely guy, really good at what he did, and there was a reason why Clevs brought him in, and therefore it would almost be an echo back in terms of one understanding of what all of these players can do. Javi, you know, because he knows and he's worked with them and he understands what they are. I'd be disappointed if he wasn't afforded his team staff, bearing in mind that, you know, the Pezzolano team, they're going to be loyal to Pezzolano, you know, so he's going to have to bring in who he can, and I imagine Rinaldi would play a large part. He's been one of his most trusted lieutenants all the way through his career. Yeah,
and you've got Garaldi in the background there, the Madrid guy that's obviously Spanish, and he's in the background and all. I don't know how much he'll figure in it. I've heard 1 or 2 things about that, but we'll leave that alone for now. But you know, he's. You know, it's great, Javi. I mean, even I go to my daughter today, and of course she remembers the cup final, and she's still coming, and you know, she just went lol, but good that he's back, you know, and because she couldn't identify with this guy, and there'll be lots of people listening to this now and out in the Watford world with young families, with young kids coming through that they're taking to the games, both male, female, you know, young girls, young boys that are all wanting to learn football. And they probably haven't really enjoyed the atmosphere. When I talk about atmosphere, I don't talk about singing and chanting, just the general malaise. When you go to Watford at the moment, you walk into the ground and there is an undercurrent of quietness. There is a feeling of nothing was right, and there was a bubbling of toxicity that could have broke at any time the opposition scoring again. And these youngsters, they want to see some football and they want to come and enjoy their day and say, Dad, I want to go again next week. And Javi probably will bring that. I can't pronounce my things, you know me by now, so I'm not even going to try. But you know, he'll bring a freshness. The atmosphere for the next home game, you know, is it the Wednesday? I lose track. Is it West Brom next on the Wednesday?
No, it's Sheffield United.
No, it's the away game. I'm talking about a home game.
Oh,
home
right.
The next,
look.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the next home game, I think it's a midweek, but I may be wrong. And, you know, that's going to be Vicarage Road is going to be a different place to what it was last Saturday. And that has got to be encouraging. And if you can just get off to the right start, you know, upwards and onwards, you know, we can have a go. You know, no one says we're going to win the league. No one says we're going to make the top 6, but we've got a damn sight more chance now than we did have, you know, a few hours ago. So long may that continue.
So his first game will be against Sheffield United away. On the 22nd will be West Brom at home. And then on
that's
the
a Wednesday, isn't it?
yeah, and
That's
then on
midweek.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then on the 25th on the Saturday we'll be going to Coventry City, and the following will be Middlesbrough. Then it's Ipswich. I mean, it's a tough start in Championship terms. We had a decent run of fixtures to try to get something out of, and we are where we are, which is not badly placed to try to do something. But the next game we'll see something, but we'll get more with more discretionary effort and with a happy squad. One hopes.
Well, I mean, straight away, if you've got anything about you spin it around. So suddenly, stop worrying about Watford and think Chris Wilder on Saturday at Sheffield United. He's going, shit. This morning, he's suddenly got a reinvigorated Watford, hopefully, with a new manager that is very popular, going to his stadium, and he's bottom of the league and can't buy a win. Suddenly, let's worry about Sheffield Wednesday worrying about us, not us worrying about them. And West Brom at home on the Wednesday, it's our home game. West Brom, they're doing all right, but they can be beaten at home. We always seem to beat West Brom at home. And then you've got that horrible game at Coventry who can't stop scoring for fun, but who could stop them scoring? So use that to your advantage. Go on, boys. You're not expected to win that game. Go and beat them. And we can. And that's what Watford could do. So, yeah, big tick. It's a better day than it was. I don't like, I'm going to say it now, Scott Duxbury, how he's still in a job is an absolute disgrace. I think he should have resigned years ago. The way the football club's being run is disgraceful. The way we treat human beings is disgraceful. I don't like it. It doesn't sit in my radar as a human being. I don't like it. I say I've worked with people for many, many years. I wouldn't treat a dog the way we treat people, and I think it's disgusting. But I love my football club, and I'll be there long after those clowns have gone, and I'll keep supporting my team. And I just say to everyone out there, get behind Mr. Gracia, get behind the boys. They're young lads. They need our help, and let's see where it takes us.
We will see. Lovely as ever. Obviously, it's an international break, so it's always fun and everything else going on at the better times. Lovely stuff, Rich. Thank you very much indeed. Do have a good international break. Let's get across to Uncle Ron and see his thoughts. Now, Ron had put out a fine line in grey joggered based tweets beforehand, but was looking at Pezzolano and going, well, no. I think something's going to be there. So he may have a different view on this. But Uncle Ron, sir, how are you doing?
I'm not feeling very well at the moment, Peter.
Oh, you and me too. I'm very sorry to hear this.
Oh no, what's the matter?
Oh no, just generally kind of weedy pigeonness in my case, but that's fine. So how are you reflecting? We did discuss it on Saturday as the likelihood because of what we had been informed. And you were looking at Pezzolano and going, well, no, maybe, echoing Rich's comments about how you treat people.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed he's gone. But the point I really wanted to make is what a grubby football club this is. If they didn't want Pezzolano, that's one thing, Peter. They obviously made up their mind a couple of weeks ago. So why not just sack him? Why not just sack him, treat him decently, rather than, not decently, he's being sacked, but to string him along like that while they look for someone else is grubby and unpleasant. And to go back to Gracia, he's gone back to the same nightclub that he picked up the Fat Bird 4 years ago. And this is the Fat Bird that no one's gone near in 2 years. No one's given Gracia a job in 2 years. And even Zisco gets jobs in Malaysia and places like that. There's a reason that no one's hired him in 2 years. But it's absolutely desperate. And I wonder about Gino Pozzo's mental state, because he's gone back to the same nightclub and gone back to someone who's been out with before and got rid of.
Oh, you see, I thought for a moment, I thought Javi Gracia was the one who was attending the nightclub. You're basically describing Javi Gracia as a less than attractive girl found at a nightclub that you've previously visited.
Yes, and Gino Pozzo is the desperate man willing to take whoever's left, the last person left.
We do
Maybe
like
it's changed. I don't know. It used to be like that in the old days. I don't know.
we do like to like really explore the metaphors that Ron comes up with to a visual end. Well, look, he's back. Obviously, everybody will hope that that this will turn out and go in the right way. Metaphors notwithstanding. In terms of, and I know very much your thoughts on the FA Cup final itself. I mean, nobody will have enjoyed, shall we say, enjoyed the football. I personally, and I know again, I have lots of people who differ from me on this. Justin and Carl, to name but two. The fact that the coming together when we were being thoroughly battered and refusing to sort of fall apart at that point as a support, for me, was a positive. I know for you it not so much, I get that, but that notwithstanding, what were the highlights from your memory of Grazia's time before, and what are your hopes from bringing him in, into the nightclub and having another go round on the dance floor?
I don't know, Peter, but I just remember that in his last 8 games, we got 1 point.
Yeah.
There's a reason he was sacked. And I know there was people are talking about this bonus argument after the cup final, but that pre-season was apparently the worst the club's ever had in the history by several accounts. They were completely underprepared. They weren't interested. But I just have no enthusiasm for it whatsoever. And the fact he's given him a 2-year contract, why is he giving him a 2-year contract when he hasn't worked in 2 years? Give him to the end of the season. Give him £1 million if we get promoted. But 2 years, this owner, again, this is very important for people.
Mm-hmm.
He's happy to pay out millions and millions and millions in compensation to failed managers. But he's unprepared to pay even a percentage of that to a manager in current employment and pay compensation to their club. Isn't that worth trying? And to go back again for the second time, maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, but really it's a grubby football club.
Right, well, there we go. It's a grubby club. There is no doubt there has been times when some of the things we've done has been I think grubby is on it on occasions. Is this one? No, I think the appointment was wrong, and I think what we've done is corrected it on this occasion more than anything else. Will it work out though? Cool, blimey. If anything predicts future performance, it's past performance, and on our past performance, we do go through managers a lickety split. Let's get to John. John, sir, thank you very much for waiting there. How are you doing, John? If you hit your mic button down the bottom left. John M, are you with us, sir? And appreciate obviously everybody calling in during what might be people's lunch. No, John's not there. Okay, let's get across to PJ over in the Republic of Ireland and see what his thoughts are, because lots of good analytics and observations normally. PJ, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks very much. I won't lie, I have no stats to worry about.
That's all right.
I have one stat.
Okay.
There is 100% less corner flags with this manager announcement than any other one.
That's true. That's true. I haven't been to Twitter. I just thought, spun this thing up and just go, come on, what do everybody think?
I was really disappointed. I was looking forward to my corner flag. I was late tuning in, but I did hear the conversation you were having about the formations he was using since he had left Watford, and I listened to Oliver Glasner a few weeks ago talking about how he changes system club to club, and I think that is something that any decent manager who backs themselves should be willing to at least try.
Yep.
I'm a fan of a good old-fashioned winger myself. I won't lie. I wouldn't have no problem if Gracia decides, well, I'm going to go with a 4-4-2, a 3-4-3, or whatever it is. But the biggest question mark I've had around all this is why Gracia? Because the fact that we're going back to the same man again, is he the best of what is available, or is he something that is just quick and easy? I also have slight reservations around the fact that who is leading the charge on this appointment? Would you say it is Duxbury, or would you say it is the Pozzos?
Well, if we, yeah, for sure, I don't know for one. However, if one looks back at the history, and we mentioned it earlier on, of whose wording is thrown into the statement, normally has a large bearing on kind of what's being done, and this is Scott Duxbury. So it would feel like that. I would doubt if it was. I'm trying to remember whether or not Nani was about during the Gracia area. I think he was away from the club at that point. I think it was people like Luke Dowling and other people, and the lad whose name I can't remember for the moment. So I don't think it would have been him. Obviously, Gino Potts I would have known, and will always have the end decision. But an educated guess would suggest that it would be a Scott Duxbury appointment, which in and of itself should cause klaxons to go off, because we know what normally happens with Scott Duxbury appointments. It's basically second only to kind of a professor of the dark arts at Hogwarts for knowing you'll only get one stint and then you're off.
Yeah, like we had Tom, who was Scott led, we'll say, liked by the people.
Yep.
We then sacked Tom. Well, do you say you sacked him twice, considering he's nearly gone in January? So sacked Tom. Pozzo led in Pezzolano. Sack him, and now we're back to Scott's pick.
Yep.
I just am beginning to wonder. Like, I know people have called for Scott to leave and whatever, but I'm just wondering, how long is this relationship going to last if we're just basically having petty, oh, well, that was shit, so I'm going to pick this one. Excuse my language.
Yeah, no.
I just wonder, like, is there that power struggle at the top about, like, surely the done thing is we appoint a person who has that level of control, and we don't have people in the boardroom basically undermining each other, that they just both pick a name for a director and go, right, you are in charge of that, but I guess then you couldn't get Mudgy by it or insert person here involved and give out backhanders.
Yep.
So I great few games to finish out Pezzolano's. Obviously, if he's been strung along while all this has been done, that's a poor way to treat a person. I'm just wondering, like, look, it's very easy to turn around in our position and go, oh, well, the board are blaming it all or messing it all up. But, like, how can anyone look at this and say this is a model that we're happy with? I'm just talking about in the boardroom. I'm not about fans.
I agree. If there is also the situation whereby if you've got three main higher ups at the club, and we know who they are, it's Nani, it's Gino, and it's Scott Duxbury.
Yeah.
And surely the ideal would be to have the three of them having discussions about who it's going to, who they think it would be, and then agree a way forward. However, in the past, and as I say, past performance predicts current and future performance. If it's led from one of them and the others aren't necessarily vested in that kind of in that investment for that particular player, it's going to take them less time to turn against it. You really need to have something that is a committee, and that they agree this is the way forward, and then we're going to do everything we can collectively, all of us, to support it, rather than, we can't go through the number of managers we go through if the owner is invested in every single one of them, because he simply hasn't been. He simply hasn't done. So no, it is, as the thing I said at the start was, or near the start was, surely now is the time for root and branch review of how do we appoint managers, because we're going to somebody who is, and I appreciate Ron's kind of thought about him as a manager and what have you, but that notwithstanding, he is quite he is experienced, he does know the club, he does tick a lot of boxes. Fine, this isn't about now investing in who we recruit next. This should be the time to look at how do we recruit next, how do we decide who we would go after at that particular point, and put those processes in place to make sure that they're properly done and robust, because you can't keep making the same mistake and just going, well, we'll just do it again until we're right. And literally, when we were at what we loosely call Parlaci Gino, that was what was stated. We turned around and said the thing when I said earlier on about to lose one manager is unfortunate, to lose 20 seems kind of frankly careless. And the thing that still came back was, what we have built here is a club that has got everything right. It's in a really good position. Lots of these things have been done right. The one thing we're missing is a coach, and we just can't quite get that right. And it's like, well, you can't keep getting it wrong without at some point going, there's a looking glass there, because you are the common denominator with the appointment of every single one of these, and therefore by definition the removal of every single one of these as well.
But while I fully agree with what you're saying, we said it last time.
Oh yeah, no.
That's the time before that.
I'm going back to 2023 when I'm saying that. I mean, we've done it so many times since. It's frightening.
And if you're Mr. Pozzo with your potential pay date in Spain coming up, surely you have to just step back and go, Christ, we've wasted a bit of money here on sacking managers. Or if I took the time to do it right and got a manager in for one good year and just got us even top half of the championship, God, I could sell that club and just move on from it and get a decent price. Not 170 million, but a decent price for it. It's very confusing, because maybe I'm applying logic, and that's a big mistake to make with anything Pozzo related. But I sit here, and we all knew after Saturday. We all knew maybe before Saturday, depending on who you've talked to. But how? This is the big concern I have with Gracia. Seems like a lovely man.
Right.
He's done great things in the past. But why Gracia? Why him? And the fact that it's someone that's already been at the club just screams of, oh well, he'll fill the gap. I'm not convinced he is the best man for the job. I don't know who the best man for the job is, but I just feel like it's, well, look, this is quick and handy and it'll tide us over for now.
Well, there's some criteria that the club have always followed, or certainly have in recent years, which is they won't, as Ron had said, they won't pay for somebody, i.e. they won't go for somebody who is already working at a club. So that reduces it straight away. In terms of, is it the best person for the job? I think any in-season recruitment process has to be, by its very nature, pretty damn quick, because the games keep coming thick and fast, and that's why they make the changes in the international break. It's a time to pause. It's then a time for them to get going. But now is absolutely the time. But do I think they will do? No, I don't, because I don't think Gino would do that. Gino still considers himself to be the person who will make the picks and will do the right thing, and it's my club and I'll do it my way, and by God, we'll get there one day. There's no lack of intent on his part, I think, at all, but there is a lack of robust process that leads to kind of a consistent and long tenured manager. The flip side of that, I think we also have to look at, is long tenured manager is not something that often happens in Italy. The Italian, if you look at the Italian teams, that they hire a manager, they're still paying the previous one they fired. They fire this one and they bring the previous one who's already on the payroll still, they bring him back in. It has happened numerous times. So culturally, they see the coach as a functionary position. They don't see it as somebody who sits at the heart and the hub of the club in the same way that Graham Taylor did in his day, and therefore they do it they do it how they do it. So there we go. There we go. We will see where we get to, but I get your point entirely. Thank you very much, PJ. Let's get across to Pete, Mr. Fincham, who's been sitting there waiting. Do excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. Mr. Fincham, sir, hit your mic button. How you doing, Pete?
It seems that everybody's full of cold,
I'm sorry.
petulance, distress. Well, it's not great, is it?
I'll put it this way: if this had been yesterday, I wouldn't have been here. Yeah, I wouldn't have been here doing it, but I could make it today. So I consider myself on the up.
Pete, I don't believe anyone thinks you're ever anywhere else. And kudos to you, because again, the rapid response to the inevitable was a great distraction for the middle of the day. Right. So, firstly, no sympathy for this manager. He's paid well. He knew what he's letting himself in for, and if he didn't, he was a buffoon.
Yep.
So, one on one of the little groups I was on, someone said he's probably got a smile that says, "I've just paid off my mortgage in 3 months," and nothing's damaged his reputation at all, because no one's reputation is damaged by getting sacked at Watford.
Yeah.
Secondly, Roots. Fantastically inappropriate analogy of fat birds. Unfortunately, as I look at you on the TV, and I'm sure you look at me, sooner or later fat birds will turn us down. So we shouldn't be possibly too critical of searching for fat birds in a nightclub. And actually, we've all had better days, pom poms or whatever. But and it is a strange thing. Gino walking around a nightclub, looking for options. It does strike of desperation. But let's have a look at the in-season appointments that this man has made. And by my reckoning, given that Wikipedia has actually now stopped updating our managers, the last manager, according to this, is Tom Cleverley, which even like Fareham Town's page is a bit more accurate.
Right.
I think there's only been 2 out of 13 in-season sackings and appointments that have worked out in season. That of Djukanovic, who that was a great 6 months, and then Munoz, who took what was a Premier League team back to the Premier League when the rest of the Championship was utterly decimated.
Would you not say Javi was a successful in-season appointment?
Well, he didn't really achieve anything in that season. He stabilised.
Yeah, true.
He went on to achieve something the following year.
Okay.
But I mean, let's be clear. The Snake wouldn't have been sacked based on the team and how it was doing. It was a lot more to it than that. It was the pernicious interest of Everton and what went on around it. But most of those appointments have yielded no real change, and certainly in the last few years, look at the weirdness of the appointment around Ivic, the strange appointments of Ranieri, Hodgson, Bilic, Wilder. You can understand. Ishmael was an appointment at the start of the season, and cleverly, it came in mid-season, but these generally don't work out. And I think you've already touched on the reason, we don't go fishing in the big pool in the middle of the season, because all the good managers are gainfully employed. I don't think Javi should have got the push the first time round. I think if you take those first 4 games of the season, VAR did for us badly. Newcastle was well documented, but I don't people remember the whole incident with the Brighton free kick. I think it was Glenn Murray jumped first game of the season at 0-0 for a free kick. Should have been a penalty. They never went to VAR. We lost 3-0. And I think had those 2 VAR calls intervened, we could have been in a very different situation, and who knows about the future. If I were, though, to ever have the opportunity of speaking in the never to be repeated Parlaci Gino type event where Pozzo turns up and has to answer questions, I'd have 3 questions on this.
Mm-hmm.
Is what did you see in PP in June that you didn't in October, based on the extensive due diligence you did to hire him? And what lessons have you learned from that? And I think, the idea that this man has any self-reflection at all is, frankly absurd by now. What did you see in Javi in 2025 that you didn't in September 2019, aside from someone who was available and one would expect eager to return? And And the final one is how do you reflect on the 13 in-season management changes since Zola left in 2013 to be replaced by another lunatic in Sanino, who we know, from relays by other players and staff. The guy was off his head in a similar way to Ivic was off his head. And, this is another character that is clearly been off his head. And I think Simon Parkins, when he kicked this off, he was talking about, flip-flopping yins and yangs and the difference in characteristics. There's like a schizophrenia. There is a clear chronic mental illness that is feeding the decision-making of these people. And Rich said, we'll be there long after they are. Well, I hope so. About having lost a couple of people in the last week or so, I can only hope that is the case, because we're all getting older here and we've all been hoping for the same thing for some while. And this is a particularly desperate period. This is truly awful. It's another truly awful chapter in what's a reoccurring nightmare soap opera. Stick with it, because we will still be there. This is a depressing moment yet again. And I'm sure some people will be briefly elated by Javi's return. And I hope it's not another QSF situation where he's gone by Blackburn in January when we're out of the cup and sitting 19th and they pull the trigger and bring in someone else who's, out of work. I really hope it's not. I really I want the guy to succeed. As much as the cup final was awful, truly awful, we had a lot of good days under him, and I'll be forever grateful for that. And let's hope this is another good start. But history suggests this is just another plaster that will come off in a swimming pool in a few months' time.
Oh, look at these metaphors. Look at this. Look at this. This is the only fan phone-in that has both fat birds and plasters coming off in swimming pools, and I like this. Pete, I've got to put this to you. Watford limericks often makes poetic contributions, and I think this is one, but I think it's got a question at the end, which I would like to put to you. It says, fans and owner together might say that it's good they sacked Paulo today. The managerial churn will see Javi return. But is Stockholm syndrome at play? Are we suffering from Stockholm syndrome? Have we, has the Pozzo way of doing things, has it contaminated the water table and kind of changed the culture? And if so, what can we do to improve the situation, do you think?
Stop post-match phone-ins. I don't know.
Yes, I'm up for that.
Okay, so look, there's two problems here. Firstly, culturally, as a society, we're far too flippant to go between left and right, black and white. There's very few shades of grey. And if you lose one game, there's always people going, X out, or this is not good enough. In the old days, you go for a pint and go, well, that's rubbish, wasn't it? But now, we look for the sort of fatalistic, trigger happy. And this is society, it's Trumpist politics. Playing out where there is no middle ground, and you're either with us, if not, you're against us. You're either a Nazi or you're Antifa. There's no kind of middle ground, and that's a social thing. And I think it's the curse of social media and all the crap that goes on in the world. But then we've got that as a microcosm in WD18, where our affluent or supposedly affluent owner, who is supposedly experienced in things that have made money. Well, he hasn't. His dad made the money. Yeah. He's been spending it. And I query, just how much real experience he's got outside of Watford. His own approach to things. I'm not interested in a dialogue. I'm not interested in justifying anything. I'll just do things my own way. I'll carry on doing it the same way. And that feeds our own fan base, who now have become, it doesn't go right for a few games. Well, then he's going to crack the whip. He's going to fire the gun. Let's just do it for him. And then I can say I was right. I knew this was going to happen. And it takes away any level of tolerance. Pompey, Colin Mace was particularly vociferous from the rookery end about why about the fans who were singing, you're sacked in the morning, when he took off the little Aussie after a few minutes, and that was right in front of Colin. And people I don't think were singing it because they wanted it. They were singing it because they knew it was going to happen. Maybe not in the morning, but it hasn't taken much longer. And actually, ironically, from being 1-0 we're 4-2 up on aggregate since that moment. So I think it's a response to that leadership. It's a response to the culture that's been created. It's a response to the culture that is so pernicious across society. And I use those words advisedly because, you know, we don't live in a particularly pleasant world right now. I long for a better planet. But I also long for a stable football club. And I think we'll probably get that before we have a more stable planet. But hey ho, work calls.
Yes.
And Pete, thanks for doing this. It's an entertaining as ever lunchtime. Greetings and salutations to the world, especially our friends in America and Ireland and all over. Come on, you Hornets.
Lovely stuff. Look at that. Look at that. There's a man who talks about a world with a lack of nuance, giving us some nuance. And I hope you all enjoyed that. I most certainly did. Let's get to, let's have a last call with Nick O'Reilly. Nick, sir, if you're there, hit your mic button. There you go. How you doing, Nick?
Very well indeed. But I'm very concerned that we are setting up Javi Gracia to be the next Quique Sanchez Flores.
Right.
And go again in sort of December or January. And I think part of the problem is that people use pre-season to understand what are the skills and the levels of these particular players.
Yep.
And he's got to walk in, and who is he going to get those opinions from? He's only going to get them from Gino or Gianluca Nani. He's not got an ability to assess these players over a period of time. And the thing about Watford this year is we have one of the things that Pezzolano did was obviously show us every single player because he made 5 changes every game.
Yes,
but we have got an enormous squad, and in trying to get all of our best players onto the pitch, I was sitting there last night contemplating this about to happen, and I was thinking, what happens when Chak Fatadze comes back? Where on earth are we going to shoehorn him, Loser, and Bar and Irankunda, you know, the best players, into an 11? You know, we've already got Doumbia left out of the 20. We've got foremost Mendy, didn't even make it into the 20. We've got the midfielder, Pierre Duomo, not even in the 20. Ince wasn't in the 20. You know, we've got an enormous squad of players, and that's without Chak Fatadze, who's injured. So I am worried that we will go out to Sheffield United and he may be astute enough to think, okay, I've got 5 good centre halves, I'll play 3 of them at the back. I've got a decent right wing back in Petri, and got decent left wing back. But then you look at it and think, well, okay, the owner's going to want me to play Bar, because that must have been one of the tipping points on Saturday, was him leaving Bar on the bench until the 87th minute. We've got to fit him in. We've got to fit Irankunda in because he threw his toys out the pram at Portsmouth. We probably need Luca back in the side. Then suddenly you're just leaving yourself with 2 men in midfield in Loser and Cipriano. And is that a well balanced team? But I just don't know. I'm just worried that he is being set up to fail, and that we may well be sitting here again in January looking for Roy Hodgson to come out of retirement. And you know, that may be our only option left. And that's, I had to Google this morning that he was still alive, because I wasn't even sure if he was alive still, Roy, but he is. So maybe he might be pulled out of retirement.
Nick, I'll be honest with you. I think like most people, we were all listening to going, this is a good call. This is a good call. He's never going to be able to land this with a punchline. And then you went to Roy Hodgson. Sir, well played. Well played. Excellent.
But anyways, it's depressing. But one of my friends asked me this morning, said, you know, are you shocked by this? I said, we're just numb. I'm just numb. I just expect it. We expect it. So there's nothing we can do to change it. It's just, you just got to roll with it. And,
the one hope would be, and it was something we were talking at the start of this nonsense, in around midday. Since then, we've probably gone through another 3 managers. Who knows? And it was the talk about Zigor Arinaldi, who has been his well, pretty much his lifelong lieutenant. But of course, as we know, he's not been working for a couple of years. So he came back to the club last season and was there with Cleves. So he's going to have that understanding, especially if he brings him back, if he brings him back in, which I'm sure he will. So he'll have something. But as you say, when you've bought in 13, 14 players, there's an awful lot of new ones that he is going to need to come up to speed with fast. And you're right, in terms of the people who will be telling him, it will be coming from it'll be coming from Barami, and it'll be coming from, I presume, Nani.
I mean, one of the worries is that when Quique came back, we drew 2-2 with Arsenal, and everyone thought, wow. And then the following week we got stuffed 8-0 at Man City.
Yes.
this run of games that we've got, Sheffield United might be the easiest one. It's Sheffield United away, might be the easiest one. Then we've got West Brom, then we've got Middlesbrough, we've got Ipswich in that run, Ipswich away. You know, it could well be that he's staring down the barrel after the first 6 games that he's only got a point or possibly 2. And then what do we do? You know, we're meddling down in the lower reaches of the division. What do the management do at that stage? They can't sack him because they haven't given him a chance to start with. So, or maybe they would. Maybe they look at it again and say, a la Quique Sanchez Flores, sorry, we thought it was a good idea. It isn't. Let's make the change quickly because that shows decisive leadership in their eyes, rather than just letting it rot and continue to be in the bottom half of the table in March, April and May. But I just think, you know, that is a possibility with the run of games coming up.
It is always a risk. It is always a possibility. And of course, the first time we got up under the Pozzo family, when we had 4 managers in that season, almost seems to, you know, on occasion seems to justify it in Gino's mind that, well, I will do whatever I can at whatever point to do that. But Nick's a lovely call. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. Right. Well, let's allow you guys to get back to work because I'm sure you're going to have to. I'm just going to quickly read out some points that have been put in the bottom here and a comment on YouTube. Natasha Wright says, time to break out the sangria, tune up those vocal cords and create a tifo. Let's hope Javi inspires us into a team ferocious and goal hungry home and away. The Vic will be rocking to the Javi Gracia song. I've already read you one of the limericks, but yes, there's 2. So we're going to have another one in a minute. Wendover Horn says, we did have a Jeff Taylor as a coach under the awful David Bassett period. Here's West Brom at home. Yes, absolutely. Right, let's finish off with a limerick, and then we will find out what everybody else thinks on YouTube. It was, once again, Javi Gracia's here. It's time to pour out the sangria. See what I did there? I had to make that work. It didn't really scan, but it does. Are you free for the day on the 16th of May? I recommend you keep your diaries clear. Oh my God, could we do with another drubbing? I don't know. Who knows? Let's get quickly through the YouTube comments just to see what everybody says. Paul Fiander Turner says, let's hope the players get a chance to say how they were being treated by the PP clown. B Sting, hello Gary, says the merry-go-round continues. Paul Moston says, I wish I could get excited, but the toxic demolition of my beloved club has been disengaged. And that's what we were kind of chatting out with Pete. You know, kind of getting. I still think there's an issue, and there's an issue around fundamentally how we recruit managers. Okay, we all know that when a lone player is, don't fall in love with a lone player. Don't fall in love with a lone player. Nothing good can come from it. But from a manager, you should be able to lose your heart to them occasionally, even if you're in a nightclub with Ron, Pete and I. A stable and optimal starting 11, thank God, says Dean Sydney Hornet. Mike McHugh said, looking to go to Sheffield United. Now, sod the £38 a ticket. Now, I think there's something to be done here with this about something, because the away tickets in the Championship are on occasion more expensive than the, you know, kind of 20s plenty was one of it. Now I think it's 30 odd quid, which is a maximum in the Premier League. I think we need to get the clubs together and do something on that, because it's ridiculous. Matt 2890 says, hey, I had the feeling he was going to get the sack after his poor formation decision and leaving players out that have been playing well or players needing to improve on their fitness. Tyler says, apparently the board admitted it was a mistake and our players complained about Paulo's selections. 4-2-4 with Luza and Cipriano in the middle, Bar and Irankunda on the wings, with Vata and Luca up front, ? Well, maybe. Steve Atkinson says, clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here we are, stuck with this Muppet Gino. There you go. Wonderful stuff. Stuck in the middle with you. Mark Levy says that video in the changing room was the final straw and showed his true colours to a wider audience. You simply cannot manage like that in 2025. Toby Lancaster said, if the manager thinks he's bigger than the players, he has to go. Bob said, second most important Watford manager of all time, second most successful, never should have gone as early as he did. Very good. Lewis is with us. Lewis Twiddle. Hey, Lewis. He says, buzzing with the appointment. Duxbury clearly didn't want to get rid of him in the first place. Hopefully, we get that first away win in ages against Sheffield United. Love following your podcast. Oh, well, thank you very much indeed for that. He also says, yes, Wednesday against West Brom. I do love I get to the questions or the answers to questions that I kind of asked and threw out there about 30 minutes ago. My apologies. Pozzo opting for the cheapest option. Clueless appointment again, says B. So not everybody all in favour, and other opinions are available, and that's perfectly all right. All Pozzo needed to do is wave his finger and he sacks another manager, says Watford FC. Patrick Hanlon says, how are we, lads? Good to see DNSYE again. I've missed you. We've missed you as well, Pat. I hope you are well. Pat, we spoke to, and he gave us a 3 out of 10 for Tom Cleverley, having not seen or even listened to the game once, but that was at Man City, so 3 was probably using speaking facts, says Josh Lewis. Patrick Hanlon back again. He says, meh, I disagree. I haven't been thoroughly thrilled with the sacking in a long time. This man was one I wanted out for a plethora of reasons. However, didn't agree with Slav, ex-Rob, Javi, Tom or Val. He also says, and probably more than I disagreed with that I can remember. Okay. Lewis back again. He says, as we all know, the board have an influence on team selection. Any coach we have in will always be up against it and a lost cause. But that it was going on before when Javi was there. He did well. Yeah, I mean, in part, it is about, we know the environment is different to anything else anybody's been at. But in a way, you have to hope that that gives him half a chance. But I said that about Tom Cleverley, and yeah, there you go. I was hoping for Beppe Sinino to return, says Phil Dino. Phil, you just won the internet. Well done. If we reach Wembley, says Ryan Cripps. Matt 2890 says, hopefully with Javi Gracia, he will be able to bring back the players' passion back in time for the next game, and they show us why they deserve to wear our club's shirt. Absolutely. Final one from Ryan Clips. If we reach Wembley, everybody's getting very carried away with Wembley suddenly via a playoff or an FA Cup. We deserve to bring sangria with us in the stadium. I don't see anybody disagreeing with that. I think that's an excellent idea. Well, look, guys, thank you very much indeed. We just thought we'd come on as ever, see what everybody thinks. Grabbing supporters' opinions when this happens or after a game. Yes, it is about the passion of the moment, because other people will do analytics far better than we'll do, and they'll be able to kind of dissect and digest. But football is fundamentally a supporters game, and it is about the passion. It is how you feel. Some people will look at this and just feel really downhearted that another manager has gone. Other people will feel downhearted that that manager was recruited and didn't prove to be what presumably you would want it to be. Fundamentally for us, we've got somebody who we know back. So there's an opportunity for a feel good and a kind of a bounce back with this. But as we all know, and as many people have said on here already, that is dependent on results. That's depending on how it goes. There is a legacy at play here that you don't want to tarnish in any way. Javi needs, Javi's back at Vicarage Road now, and he wants to make sure he doesn't tarnish what he did historically, because we know the final wasn't great. God, we know the final wasn't great, but we did get there. We did do some good things in the season beforehand in the Premier League. He did go after 4 games. Go figure. That's what happens at Watford. He does know the place, so we will see how it goes. But anyway, thank you as ever for bearing with us, listening in, and we'll see how things go at Sheffield United. Cheerio all.